As you likely know, endocrine disrupting chemicals are ubiquitous in your air, food, and water, as well as environment. And in today's show, I want to highlight a recently published paper in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology titled Endocrine Disrupting Chemicals Implication for Human Health. And we're going to cut to the best ways that you can help minimize your whole body and your family's exposure to these compounds, which are pretty much everywhere in clothing, cosmetics, they're in cleaning products, they're in furniture, they're in your bedding, they're in your food, they're in your food packaging, they're in your water, they're in the air. They are everywhere. And it's pretty cool now to see mainstream institutions and establishments such as the Lancet recognizing that there's a lot of problems with these different chemicals. The investigators say evidence is particularly strong for relations between perfluoroalkyl substances and child and adult obesity, impaired glucose tolerance, gestational diabetes, reduced body weight, reduced semen quality. We know that semen quality is at an all-time low globally, which is really problematic for the propagation of the human species, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, as well as breast cancer. Evidence also exists for relations between bisphenols and adult diabetes, reduced semen quality, PCOS, again, impaired glucose tolerance. Organophosphate pesticides are receiving a lot of negative attention. If you eat conventional strawberries, you're at risk for high exposure to organophosphates. It turns out that strawberries, raspberries, cauliflower, broccoli, even peaches and apples are heavily sprayed with organophosphates, which are really, really problematic. And we know that some of the flame retardants are found in our clothing, as well as cosmetics and furniture. So it's important that we're aware of this stuff. And I don't want to talk about all the negative things, doom and gloom, you should never leave your house or things like that. It's actually better to be outside, to be honest. So indoor air quality, not that good. That's why in our home, we installed skylights that open. We have all sorts of windows, air filters, try to be outside as much as you can. But we're going to focus on the 3 ways, really 4 ways actually, that you can minimize your exposure here. So the number one way to minimize your exposure is through your diet. And so choosing fresh or frozen foods instead of canned, preserved, or packaged foods. It seems obvious, but packaged, particularly ultra-processed foods, have a lot of these endocrine disrupting chemicals, residual plastics and phthalates in the packaging elements. And also drinking beverages from cans or plastic bottles is a big no-no. So try to just drink filtered water from glass. Try not to go get hot coffee and put that in the disposable coffee cups. We know that microplastics are released from those coffee cups. They have problems there. Investigators say cook more meals at home instead of eating fast food or takeout. It turns out that the packaging of fast food is problematic as well. I mean, shocking. Not only is the food very unhealthy, but the packaging sucks as well. They say buy organic produce, meat, and dairy products when possible. Avoid microwaving food and beverages in plastic containers. It seems really obvious. You don't want to heat up anything that's plastic. And so, and if you still have a microwave, I'm sorry, just throw it out. Don't use it. Take it out of your kitchen. It's not good. You do not want a microwave. They also say store food and beverages in glass, stainless steel, or ceramic containers instead of plastic. Remember when we all used to get the Tupperware containers for meal prep? Now everyone has the steel containers or glass containers. Okay, so what about the behavioral changes? Well, you can check the labels of your personal care products and beauty products. Choose products that do not contain phthalates, parabens, or fragrances. Fragrances are hidden within the personal care products under perfumes. So just try not to buy things that have phthalates, parabens, and methylparabens, as well as perfumes. Minimize the use of personal care products and cosmetics. I know this is hard for some women, but just minimize your use of these things. There's a lot of natural things that you can do. Use mineral-based sunscreens containing zinc oxide or titanium dioxide instead of chemical sunscreens. That's important because summer is here. A lot of people are out in the sun more, so that's something to consider. Avoid perfume, cologne, scented body sprays, and other products that contain fragrances. Limit the use of nail polish and nail polish remover. I will add in the behavior element here that's not listed. Go in the sauna, do hot yoga, and exercise. These are effective ways to help with the elimination of both heavy metals as well as persistent endocrine disrupting chemicals and other compounds. I will also add and just throw in a small plug for the NAC Glycine Supreme by Myoscience. This is a phenomenal way to help to increase your body's synthesis of your primary antioxidant as well as detoxification molecule known as glutathione. This is one of the only products on the market that features both NAC as well as glycine paired together. These are the 2 rate-limiting amino acids to make glutathione. your body's most abundant intracellular antioxidant and detoxification molecule. You can check out the hundreds of reviews over at myoscience.com using the code podcast at checkout. You can use this before bed. It turns out that detoxification and glutathione synthesis tends to increase while we're sleeping, and the glycine may help with sleep as well. So again, the URL is myoscience, and I will put a link in the description below as a tool, especially if your occupation is such where you're exposed to these different compounds, or you run or live near a freeway, or you have a history of using cosmetics and fragrances, colognes and perfumes, and you would just want to help your body eliminate some of these things that might be stored in body fat and beyond. So going to the third aspect here, your house. Reduce household dust with a wet mop or a cloth and a HEPA filtered vacuum. This is really important. Clean your house, my friends. Some of the most unhealthy people have really dirty, messy homes. And I can't help but imagine that their unhealthiness is linked to their poor hygiene of their house. My neighbor actually left her car lights on the other day. She's really, really unhealthy. And I went to go tell her that her car lights were on. It was on an evening walk. I couldn't even walk to her doorstep. She had just literally trash and crap everywhere. She's not my direct neighbor. She lives kind of in the neighborhood. And I peeped through the window and there's just junk everywhere. And sadly, she's a morbidly obese individual. And just having clutter and junk, it's just not good. And it turns out that our furniture off gases some of these, particularly the flame retardant perfluoro compounds, which are really problematic. It's not just the organophosphates in the food, it's the flame retardants that are in non-stick cookware, as well as couches, bedding, pillows, all that. Wash your clothes, by the way. If you have to dry clean shirts for your occupation, let them off gas outside before you bring them in the home. If you still use those little dangling trees as air filters in your car, just get rid of those. Those things are really not good. The investigators also say wash your hands regularly and avoid using antibacterial or scented hand soaps. Take your shoes off before you go into your house. A lot of people I see, everyone's wearing shoes in the house. You're tracking all that stuff in from outside. Who knows if you're stepping on dog manure or Roundup from your neighbor's lawn, whatever it is, not good. There's also a recommendation to use safer cleaning products. We use Blueland, a really good company. And so they have an auto ship program. So hand soap, dish soap, cleaning stuff, really good things that you should consider. Avoid products that contain scents, fragrances, harsh chemicals, or antibacterial, antimicrobial chemicals. That's important. And again, sadly, I still see people with antimicrobial hand sanitizer. They're using this stuff all the time. When you're using that out in public, especially if you're touching the BPA-lined receipts, the ethanol within the hand sanitizer that helps increase the absorption of the antibacterial compounds, facilitate the dermal or skin absorption of endocrine disrupting chemicals like BPA that you might be touching out in public. So really not good. And last but certainly not least, avoid scented products, including air fresheners, candles, detergents, and soaps. So it turns out that all the fragrances and so forth might contain parabens as well as phthalates to increase their absorption. So that's not good. And so again, we have mainstream medical journals like The Lancet talking about how there are real harms here when it comes to fertility, when it comes to hormones, when it comes to reproductive health in both men and women, as well as metabolic health and body composition with exposure to these compounds. And so we all need to take efforts to help to minimize our exposure to them and maximize our elimination of them. But I think you need to balance both reducing your exposure and maximizing your elimination. So you have a lot of different strategies here: exercise, heat, sauna, hot yoga, walking, all that, and glutathione support, as well as minimizing your intake here, storing food in glass or stainless steel, not getting takeout, not having things that are wrapped in plastic, fast food. The junk food packaging is probably as problematic as the junk food itself. So I wanted to share this research with you because we're all at risk for being exposed to persistent organic pollutants and endocrine disrupting chemicals. We all need to take this very seriously. There's a lot of really compelling research to show that particularly organophosphate exposure is linked with cancer, breast cancer, and beyond. So I appreciate you watching all the way through. Hopefully you got some value from this information, and we'll catch you on a future episode down the road.